Dr. Joel Parkin, who is the author of Exotheology. You can find out more by linking up to him at coasttocoastam.com. Joel, I think you'll agree that a lot of the history of the Christian church, particularly systematic theology, is based around the the need for the striving toward eternal life. So we know that the way that the New Testament in particular was shaped, it seemed to be that people thought that they were living in the end times then. They then had to kind of pivot theologically when the end times didn't occur in their lifetimes. And so uh, we have always been a church that is focused on going to heaven, or depending on one's outlook, when one dies, does one automatically go to heaven? Is there a period of time when one is in some state, whether it's a state of grace but not consciousness? And then however we look at the Perusia and however we look at the end times, it still comes back down to a church that seems for a lot of people to be built around eternal life. Eternal salvation means eternal life. So what if in our encounter with aliens we find out that they already have eternal life? Why would we even think that they would have an interest in being baptized or being part of our tradition?
Well, I think the difficulty there is the presumption that our economy of salvation or that our sacraments will be applicable to them, because the purpose of baptism is, in the traditional tradition, to remove what we call original sin. There's a presumption that they would be that baptism would be applicable to them because they're also under the effects of original sin as us humans, and that's not necessarily the case.
So if they weren't, because they're not human, the idea of original sin, it doesn't apply to them anyway. So again, why would we not be trying to be baptized into their tradition?
Well, again, we don't know if we share the same economy of salvation, that the sacraments will be beneficial for us. Their sacraments may not, if they have sacraments, they may even have sacraments. I tend not to want to think in these categories, because what we're doing is we're projecting anthropomorphically. We're assuming that.
What do you mean by that? Anthropomorphic usually refers to inanimate objects or animals. So what do you mean by that?
We're projecting human conception